Okay, can you all hear me? If you can hear me, raise your hand. Maikai. So we're going to begin today's lecture. The main part that I wanted to impart to all of you in translating today's mele is that it may seem very, very simple. But what I would like you to do is keep this in mind as a part of your focus as you unuhi, as you translate the mele. When it says HeʻEʻIa ka'ua ho'owa'awa'a, translate HeʻEʻIa. It is a place name, but the understanding is a part of understanding the place name in its connection to the next line, which is ka'ua ho'owa'awa'a. When you do I lua mo'o, and lua mo'o is a place name, lua mo'o and the translation of lua mo'o is directly connected to the next line, ke kia'i haumea. I Kealohi, again, Kealohi, another place name, is connected to ka'alai ula ula. MA'EʻIAʻI, another place name, the translation is connected to the story Kohina Pi'ia'e. Ke ko'a moku moku o HeʻEʻIa, again, translate that whole line to understand the reference to the next line, Malulani Ikekai. Okay, so when you translate mele sometimes, you have to really pay close attention to place names, wind names, rain names, the names of tides, the names of oceans and seas, because if you don't consider the meanings of those names which the composer put there for a purpose, you're going to miss a great part of the understanding of the deeper aspects of that mele. Because if you ain't go right at HeʻEʻIa is the ho'owa'awa'a rain, and you never take the time to translate HeʻEʻIa and ho'owa'awa'a, because it's just a name of a rain, then you're missing that part of the understanding and the translation. Same as with lua mo'o, same as kealohi, same as MA'EʻIAʻI, same as ke ko'a moku moku, because they are directly related to the full understanding of the mele. Remember now, what the haku mele going to do? So the haku is a braid, and in the haku, there are 3 kaula. If you could imagine 3 cords, right? So you braid these 3 cords together. And I've already talked about the first cord being the literal translation, the second cord being mana'o and MOʻOʻLLEO, and finally the third cord being, of course, the kauna, that is pilipono, closely attached to kahakumele, the hakumele. Well, no different than this song, because there's great vai wealth attached to the place names, and then the MOʻOʻLLEO o na wahi pana, the stories about these many historical places, and aia no ke ia mau inoa I loko o ka ʻAHUPUAʻA o HeʻEʻIa, and these wahipana are located in the ʻAHUPUAʻA of HeʻEʻIa. Pili ke la ʻAHUPUAʻA I Kaneʻohe, and it's very connected to, of course, the ʻAHUPUAʻA of Kaneʻohe. And no HeʻEʻIa no na kupuna, and from HeʻEʻIa ke la ʻAHUPUAʻA comes our ohana. In fact, today we still have a very small kuleana land, which was a part of much bigger kuleana land that is still in HeʻEʻIa. And so we're going to journey back in time to that time of my kupuna, and I kala ko malama mai ana ia o me ka hānai, ka hānai ana o kanui o nā mea, of so many things they fed to me. And now I'm going to share with this song that looks so simple. But when I pau, hopefully you can ike I nā mea hihi ia I like pu me ka maile, hihi o ka nā hele hele. How intricate and entangled all these stories going to be. Okay, so let's begin. I'm going to grab my ukulele and I'm going to ho'auno ia oko, me ka a'o ana o ke ia mele. I'm going to enlighten you. I'm going to bring light with the teaching of this mele. HeʻEʻIa ka ua ho'ova'a HeʻEʻIa ka ua ho'ova'a Now, in our ʻAHUPUAʻA of HeʻEʻIa, there is a rain in ua. And kapaia kela ua me ka inoa, it was called the ua ho'ova'ava'a. The ua ho'ova'ava'a particular to the ʻAHUPUAʻA of HeʻEʻIa. Now, when you translate the name HeʻEʻIa, slip away, disappear, washed away. And how HeʻEʻIa is connected to ua ho'ova'ava'a. Imagine this. The va'ava'a is the way when the rain falls so heavy on the ʻāINA. Yeah. HeʻEʻIa kalepo, lave ia aku. I ke kahi wahi ʻēaʻe. When the rain comes, it falls so heavy, it digs into the ʻāINA, creating gulches and gullies and grooves. And then the lepo is washed away to another place. Kaulana kela ua, I ka ʻAHUPUAʻA o HeʻEʻIa. That rain is so well known. Makawā māmua, wākahi kopaha. So many flood. Ka heleleʻi mai ana o ka ua nui I ke ʻAHUPUAʻA. When the rain falls so heavy in that ʻAHUPUAʻA, ka ua ho'ova'ava'a, ho'ova'ava'a no I ka ʻāINA, ho'ova'ava'a no I ka lepo, lave ia ka lepo I ke kahi wahi ʻēaʻe. So when the rain falls so heavy and so hard, yeah, the rain gonna fall down and wash away the lepo and take the lepo someplace else. Well, HeʻEʻIa is kaulana loa. Nui no na MOʻOʻLLEO I pili ana no ke la ʻAHUPUAʻA. Ke kahi MOʻOʻLLEO I pili ana no na ʻākua kā hiko loa o Hawaii nei. You know, long time ago, yeah, the gods from their mythical home, Kanehunamoku, were sent away. They were sent away, and the god Kane was going to shut off that home, that floating island. So he sent all the gods and goddesses on a journey. Sent them all on a journey. They all boarded their canoes, and they all sailed away from Kanehunamoku. And where did they land? They went from one dimension into the next dimension. And paino lako I HeʻEʻIa. They landed at HeʻEʻIa. From HeʻEʻIa, hele no lako pi'i I ka mauna ke kuahiwi ke kualono, a hiki no ia lākou I Waulani. From HeʻEʻIa, all the gods and goddesses traversed up into the forest, into the mountain, until they arrived at Waulani. Where is Waulani? It's in Nu'uanu. And who was the leader of the Akua Kane and Akua Wahine? That was Keʻaomelemele. So Keʻaomelemele is attached to the MOʻOʻLLEO e pili ana no I ke ia mau wahipana I loko o ka ʻAHUPUAʻA o HeʻEʻIa. We'll expound a little bit more about that. Also, there is a MOʻOʻLLEO about Kamehai and Kanaʻe oihoʻi o Wakea, about them being washed out into the sea, a big flood, kai a kahinaliʻi. Lawe no ia lākou I ke kai hohonu. Took them out into the deep sea, this flood. And it goes back to the ua hoʻowaʻawaʻa. Because that ʻAINA before, our ohana lived in the lower part of the Kula lands. Pili no ke la ʻAINA I ke kahakai, ke kahaone. But because of the big flood, Kupuna tells us it washed away everything, They were moved more Mauka. And they were moved to where the football field is at King Intermediate School. So after they were moved from Kealohi, Kalai o Kealohi, a ne'eno lākou I ka ʻAINA, pili no I ke kula o King School. King School is still in the ʻAHUPUAʻA of HeʻEʻIa. You know, in back then in those days, when you live on Ha'iku Road, nohono mako I ke alanui ha'aku, if you live on the HeʻEʻIa side of the road, you belong to HeʻEʻIa. If you live on the Kaneʻohe side of Ha'iku Road, then you Kaneʻohe. We would live on the HeʻEʻIa side of Ha'iku Road, so we was HeʻEʻIa people. In fact, the area known as Crown Terrace, that is in the ʻAHUPUAʻA of HeʻEʻIa. That ʻAINA before is called Kikiwelawela. And in that area there of Kikiwelawela, where the streams meet, you get the Ha'iku and you get the Ioleka'a coming down from the Pali Ha'iku and the Pali Ioleka'a, and then come down and meet in one place called Makawiliwili. And during our time, all the family that live Mauka, they come and they picnic, they sit down, wala'au kekahi, and au vai, au iloko o ke kahavai, o ke la kahavai o Makawiliwili. Ayono o Makawiliwili iloko o ka ʻAINA o Kikiwelawela. So, all the family that moved Mauka, that time we were living Ha'iku Road, in the area called Kikiwelawela, now Crown Terrace, there was a very popular swimming hole. All the families would come and they would swim in Makawiliwili. Again, Makawiliwili, still in the ʻAHUPUAʻA of HeʻEʻIa. And again, you get the vision of all the water coming down from Mauka and filling up this swimming hole, this lokowai we call Makawiliwili, and then continuing down to, of course, the Kahakai, down to the ocean. But in the story of Wakea and his people being washed out into the sea, HeʻEʻIa no lākou I ke kai hohonu, and again, a play on the name HeʻEʻIa. And there's so many references with all these MOʻOʻLLEO to that name, HeʻEʻIa. KUPAIANAHA no ke la inoa o HeʻEʻIa. Mana ke la inoa o HeʻEʻIa. Nui nā MOʻOʻLLEO o ke ia ʻAINA E pile ana no na akua kāne me na akua wahine. E ʻāINA kapu ia no na po e kupu na ka wāmāmua. This place was so unique, sacred to the gods and goddesses of ancient Hawaii. So, we heard about the rain in HeʻEʻIa. We heard about the water coming down in HeʻEʻIa. We heard about the floods in HeʻEʻIa. So the akua kāne, Hoakea, washed out with all of his people into the sea. Now, HeʻEʻIa no lākou I loko o ke kai hohonu, washed out into the deep sea. Pehea no lākou e hoʻi mai ai ka ʻāINA o HeʻEʻIa kea. Now there's two sides to HeʻEʻIa kea, and that's what makes it really, really KUPAIANAHA. One side, HeʻEʻIa kea, is the white side. One side, HeʻEʻIa uli, that's the dark side. Now, the side that right below MOʻOʻLLEO, that's HeʻEʻIa kea. The other side, where Luamo'o is, where Luamo'o is, that side is HeʻEʻIa uli. And what's the division? Kalaio Kealohi, or Kealohi. So there's a peninsula that juts out into the sea. One side of the peninsula, Kaneʻohe side, HeʻEʻIa uli. The opposite side of MOʻOʻLLEO, well, that is HeʻEʻIa kea. So what happens is, Wakea's kahuna, oia hoʻi o Komo'awa, Wakea asked him how they're going to be saved. So, kahe aku no o Komo'awa I nā akua kahiko. So, Komo'awa called to his akua for a vision, for a sign, how they're all going to be saved. They were all washed out into the deep sea. And the response was to make an offering. Offer. Ava. He ava I loko no o ka heau, I ke kahea no I nā akua ka hiko o Hawaii nei. Me ke la kahea, me ke la mohai, ola no oko. So, in the old days, the folding of the hand, that was called a heiau. Old name for when you bring your two hands together. They call that heiau. Because out in the open sea, never have, no can build one temple, but o keia ano o kalima, I loko o na moʻolelo o na po e kupuna wāmāmua, e ano ka heiau. So, there was no temple out there in the sea, so this was the heiau. So, they caught the fish, komo no ke ia I loko o nā lima, o Komo'awa, ke kahuna, and kahea no lākou I ke akua me ke ia mohai, a me ke ia pule kahea hea. Me ka mohai o ka ia, I loko o ka heiau, me ke kahea I ka pule, ola no lākou. HeʻEʻIa hou. Slip away again from death, come back to life, and now they're on shore. Kupaianaha ke laʻino o HeʻEʻIa. See, this is why that place is very, very unusual. Kupaianaha. And the iwi hānau o ke ʻāINA, they have some special relationship to that land. So in the story, Komo'awa, the kahuna, asked for a way that they be saved. They were all washed out to sea. And the God said, create a heiau, put an offering of ava, I loko o ka heiau. Now they couldn't go to the mountain. They caught one ava, mysteriously, strangely, because this is KUPAIANAHA. He MOʻOʻLLEO KUPAIANAHA. So then, with the prayer and the offering, they were washed back up to shore. So from close to death, now closer to life. Olaho, ʻIʻIa kahea in the prayer, in the call, and in the mohai, the offering that was made. Kupaianaha no ke laʻinoa o HeʻEʻIa. So all that in the first verse, just so that you know. Okay? Give me 1 minute. I gotta drink some water. Hold on.